Hello, welcome back. Thank you for being here. I've been trying to do this video. Every time I start, I keep sneezing, which someone has told me that's just kind of stuck energy that's needing to be released. So if it continues to happen, I'm just gonna let it happen because I feel there are some things here that I need to bring up for myself, within myself, but I know that I'm not alone in saying these things. And I know that this is speaking to a larger collective than just myself. I feel that there's a lot that is not being discussed in terms of what we might call light workers, or those of us who feel that we are here to assist, those of us who have felt so different all of our lives. And the point is that really the ones who are suffering, and I say suffering, really being forced now to release from this deep programming are the light workers themselves. I was thinking today that there is kind of this misconception that we come in, and this has been my experience, when I was kind of abruptly awakened. It wasn't something that I asked for. It wasn't something that I was looking for. I had no idea what really spirituality or enlightenment or any of this stuff was. So it was very abrupt and unexpected for me. But as I started looking for answers, trying to figure out what the heck this was all about, why all of a sudden my body was going into chaos, I was told repeatedly over and over, okay, you've got gifts, you've got talents, you've got skills, you're here to do something, you need to get on your mission, you need to accept who you are, let go of the doubt, let go of the confusion, step into your power, be empowered, all these kinds of things, which, to be quite honest, just added to my confusion, because part of me thought, okay, these people are saying these things. What's wrong with me that I can't feel it, that I can't see it, that I can't connect to it? So this is to see that, yes, there are programs within this planet which we are all controlled by, but there's an extra layer for really that we experience as the light being, as we're trying to move through this. And we're thinking in our minds that, okay, we're supposed to be up and coming, kind of getting out into the world to help humanity or to help this earth or whatever it is, these missions that we believe we're here on. And yet we're passing over the fact that we have to release out of these programs ourselves. In the sense that I think I've spent most of my journey now trying to, okay, let me get what I need. Let me get the activations. Let me get my light field going. Let me get this. Let me get that. Like, bring this stuff in. And to me, what I've started to realize is that those activations, those codes are coming in all the time, irregardless of whether or not I'm aware of it, whether or not I'm connecting with someone else who's aware of it, whether or not I'm doing sessions, whether or not I am consciously looking for it. The part that is not being addressed, that has not been addressed for myself, is the release of the programming. I think, and I feel this is very much this new age kind of idea that, well, the light is coming in, the light is going to fix everything for us. I don't necessarily see it that way. I see us as being the conscious light form, the light body in this human form, who has to now use this information, this intelligence, and this wisdom to consciously release from these programs, because the body in and of itself is, in a sense, a containment unit, because the cells, the DNA, all the programming that is inherently, let's say, inborn in the human form. So what's happening now are a lot of people, so there's been kind of this upsurge, I would say, over the last several weeks, because over the last few weeks I've been watching the release of these the dark feminine energies now at the very deep, like, root levels. And so when this starts to get released, and it's been released from the earth now, which is a very wonderful thing. This is kind of the deep, let's say, crux of a lot of where we have felt so disconnected and felt like we could not totally tap into our own power, our own essence, even though we knew it was there, we had a sense of it, yet we were being twisted and turned and looking in all these other kind of directions, following these, let's say, dead passageways or corridors, trying to find our connection, to feel our connection fully. So that is something that has come in over the last several weeks now. So there's been this definite kind of shift in the energies now where we are certainly able to tap in and tune into this and to connect to it. And yet what happens as a result of that is that all of that darkness, all of that programming now is being lifted up. So for myself over the weekend, there was this kind of like, all of a sudden I went into this panic, like, and it's coming in at the root level, right? So for a lot of people, it's about work, finance, career, just foundational, right? Like home, like these feelings of, is someone going to come in and just take my life out from underneath of me, right? So these irrational fears of, the systems of control of, am I going to get a letter in the mail? Am I going to get, someone knocking on the door? Just all these crazy fears. But again, this goes back to the programming, right? And then to the past life experiences, or even in this lifetime that we've had that have reinforced that programming and patterning that says we're not safe. We're going to get taken out. Someone's going to come along and take our life away from us, which essentially is what all these programs do, right? It's to say that you cannot handle your own light. Your light is too powerful for you. You don't know what to do with it. And if you do take control of it, you're going to obliterate everything, right? So we can start to sense where this comes up individually for each of us. But the root of this now is to start to see where in our lives, as these fears come up, where do we then play that out in our lives, right? So for myself, and because my situation has just been so strange and unusual, this placement that I've been kind of put in, it's always centered around kind of money and career and work, and how am I going to support myself and my family and all these needs that we have in the 3D for quite a few years now. It's been going over and over and over again. And part of that is because I'm looking back at it now and saying, well, and I've been told this, right? Like, you're not stepping into your power. You're not claiming your power. You're not doing what you're really supposed to be here to do. And part of me is thinking, well, but I'm trying. And yet, again, like I said, so since these mother codes have been coming in now and we're able to connect to it, it's a bit different now. So we were essentially cut off from it. But yet, I have been repeating these patterns, which says that I'm not safe. It's not safe to go out into the world if I try to pursue what I need to bring in for myself in terms of, let's just say, finances. And which, again, it's not about money. It's not about finances, but it is, in a very literal sense, that is what sustains us, right? We do need to have this flow of income and things, abundance, right, to support ourselves. So that's really been at the crux of it for me for quite a few years. And what I have started to see now is where, okay, I go into these looping patterns, which just perpetuates this fear, perpetuates and reinforces that belief in myself. So over I would say this weekend is where it started to really start to become clear to me that, okay, look at all these behaviors. As a result of that as well, I will say there's always been this sense over the last, let's say, 5 or 6 years that my life has kind of de-evolutionized. That's not a real word, I know, but de-evolved, descended into this kind of really quite a great mess. And part of that was, okay, as we start to awaken to our remembrance and awareness of who we truly are, it is in a sense that, okay, I had a normal life before. Yes, there were a lot of things and a lot of situations I was in that were not appropriate. So those needed to be released out. But yet there was in the back of my mind this idea of, how was I surviving before? It seemed like I had a job, I had things going on, I was working out, I felt pretty good, all this kind of stuff, right? And so what really happened? Did I just fall into some kind of awful mental state that caused me to just, like, I wasn't quite clear where I turned the corner and what exactly happened. So my understanding of it is that, yes, okay, I was operating in this world of the matrix, right, where everything kind of runs because it runs on its own, where it feeds off of the light, right? So it's running on its own system, and as long as you go along with that program and go along with that system, things appear like they are working out. Now, as we're kind of removed from that connection out of those grids, we start to feel that, right? And this is where the body starts to kind of be like, whoa, what's going on? Weird things happen. We start to lose jobs, relationships fall apart. This is the light coming in to detach us from those old systems. So it seems like we go into a worse and worse and worse and worse place, but really we're being brought down to the core to clean out all of these programs and to clean out all the places where we have perpetuated these programs and allowed and enable it to live on within us. Even though, now I'm not saying that in a sense of shame on us for following the programs and being tied into them, right? It is an inherent part of being human, and yet as the light beings come in, we have to detach. We have to learn how to detach from them. So where people say, oh, we're ascending, we're awakening, really, to me, I've always said it's kind of this unbecoming. It's unbecoming who we were within the matrix programs, re-evolving, reconstituting through the light, and then rebirthing now. So we're really at this kind of base origin point now where we're starting to say, oh, okay, we see this. But for many of us, I think this part of recognizing that this is actually what is happening, and now we have to start to reverse out of this de-evolution and start to move into this kind of ascension, not ascension that's out there in this new age community, but ascension within our own body here on the planet. Our light is already, we've always been whole and complete and ascended in that sense, right? In terms of the light and in terms of our wisdom and knowledge. It is getting this body to the state where now it can work with the knowledge of the light. So this, I kind of see it in the sense of this human. We talk about this ego, all of these things that need to be released out of, but it really is a process of recognizing, and that is the surrendering of it, right? It's not about like, okay, yes, spirit, I surrender my life over to you. It's not that. It's surrendering to the fact that, wow, I really am of the light. I really am here to do something much different. Now, where have I been holding into these places? So for example, so I've been having some issues with my daughter again, right? But it's amazing to me because I keep thinking like, what is wrong? What am I doing wrong? And yet she is bringing this in so strongly for me to recognize and to see, and now it's not like I'm really necessarily teaching them. I'm looking at her and saying, what does she need? What she needs is also what I need, which I have not been giving to myself in the way of the light. It's been in the way of the matrix or the programs, right? So part of what has been coming up is this idea of what is my day about? What is the routine about? I spoke about this before, that ever since around Thanksgiving, I was waking up into this very uncomfortable space of kind of this dead zone of like, what is going on? Whereas in the past, I would wake up and I'd be like, oh, I had a sense of energies. I had a sense of what the day might go like what's coming in. And, was it wonderful or was it like, oh God, I need to kind of like hide because this feels awful. Over the last several months, what I've been noticing too is that, and this has come in before for me, that we are all each our own kind of planetary body. We are this sphere of energy. And what is very important now is to really, we have to also look at this not in the sense of what is out there in terms of manifestation, what is out there in terms of kind of this positive millionaire mindset thinking, right? Like get up, set your goals, follow this plan. Because that still is connected to this outside system. We're talking about being very much internal and in communion with our own light. So what I've been doing now in the morning is to say, as soon as I wake up, and it's not even open my eyes, I become aware of my own consciousness, and it's to say, okay, I'm setting the tone for my day, which is one of peace and tranquility and stillness. No matter what is going on around me, this is the tone I'm starting from, rather than it being the tone of what happened overnight in my dreams, what I'm feeling out there in the atmosphere. This seems to be very, very crucial right now. And so I've been starting, the other thing is too, for my daughter, it's a struggle for her to get up because she very much dislikes going to school. She feels like, what she's told me in the past, like by the time she gets home, she feels like her energy is so drained, and she's very much into art. She's an artist. And so that's very important for her. That is what brings her joy. That is what connects her to her own self and to her soul. And so by the end of the day, she feels like she has no energy. She doesn't want to do artwork, and she feels very, very, very sad and incomplete as a result of it. So, there's been this discussion, do we need to find her another school? What do we need to do? How do we help her? But part of what I have realized and what she has shown me is that rather than waking up and thinking, oh God, I have to go into this system. I have to go into this school. I have to go into this office building. I have to go into this job. This is why I wake up every day, is to serve something outside of there. It's waking up early and giving herself the space to be with her own self. So waking up early in order to work out, to do her physical therapy, and to give her time to do her artwork and to do things that she loves before she has to go out into that world. And I'm finding it's the same for myself too. I'm having to wake up. I'm having to look beyond what is within this now moment into where my light is, where I want to be, and what I'm wanting to connect with, right? Which is not really anything in this realm presently, because it's all still being cleared out. So being very, very deliberate about my intentions. And then that comes back to even the night before, right? Being aware of when I'm going to wake up, what I'm going to set my day to be like. I will say this didn't happen overnight. I've been struggling for a very long time with feeling like I'm waking up into chaos. Oh my God, what the hell is going on? I hate my life. I can't do this anymore. I'm confused. I don't understand. I'm supposed to be doing all this stuff, right? So I'm just kind of sharing all of this because I think it's very vital right now. We are in this stage of really releasing out of these programs. And the way to do that is to start to look at our daily habits, right? It's these patterns and thoughts that have been derived over not just all of this lifetime, many, many lifetimes, that we have become attached to, that we have started to believe is the only way that it can be, that it can't be any different. And there's something I realized even just about making my bed. I was like, it's really important to make my bed in the morning. It's not about the morning routine. It's about that is where my day is going to end. And when I walk into this bed that is already made, it's about my peace, my serenity. I'm claiming this moment, this time, this space for myself again. And really, this, I think, is kind of this space that we all need to start to step into now as light workers who are healing themselves. We kind of, for myself, I'm having to kind of let go of like, well, how am I going to go out there and how am I going to help other people? It's always felt like a service to self issue that I needed to resolve, right? And we say this like with the codependency, it's not about helping other people. It is about healing ourselves first before we can heal other people. And we recognize that, we understand that. And yet, what does that really mean at the core, at the root of being a human? It is about taking back control of my life, starting with the day-to-day details of what is going on. And this is something that I have been like kind of spinning in this little hurricane or tornado of for many, many years now, really kind of questioning like, what the heck happened to my life that it just spiraled down and I don't understand, right? So again, beyond the light codes, beyond the activations, beyond the, this is coming in and this is happening and the starships are arriving and we're connecting to the galactic beings, to me, a lot of that is distraction. A lot of that is just kind of this icing on the cake, this fluff stuff that it really comes back to the center, it comes back to the core. And as you do this, as you start to cleanse out all of this garbage, that starts to naturally happen. And we say, this is even, again, I relate it back to, not twin flames, but relationship. It's so much easier to see how we relate to other situations and other people, right? So it's like, even in a relationship, when we're so focused on the other, we're neglecting the self, right? We can see the other as being that matrix, that outside kind of thing. That doesn't serve us, right? We can give and give and give and give, and that may never give anything back to us. We have to come back internal. And then to see this recognition of what happens when we focus our own lights within side of ourselves, we start to feel better. We start to release. And then all of that outside of us naturally starts to resolve as well, right? So it's not about how do I go out there and do this and make this happen. It absolutely starts here. Let's see what else I want to. Okay, yeah, I'm going to touch on this, this divine feminine energy. This is, it's I'm aware that I've been seeing parts and pieces of this over the years. But again, I'm not, totally clear on how it all goes together. I do get the sensations, I get the feelings, I get the awarenesses, but I couldn't necessarily, write it all out in this beautiful script. But just from some things I've been seeing from a bunch of different sources lately, it all kind of lines up, and it makes a lot more sense to me now as well, that we are really, like I said, I was working with this dark feminine energy for many, many weeks. And then all of a sudden, it's like all of this started in the hips, the reproductive organs, this whole lower range of the body here started really moving and shifting and releasing things out. And I'm just starting to see how even within all of these systems, there are these kind of whatever you want to call them, right? It's like the controlling energies, but these washes that come through as cycles through the body, whether it be overnight through, the wash that comes through the mind, the wash that comes through the menstrual cycle, the wash that comes through the lymphatic system. So there's all kinds of garbage that is being released out of the cells, out of the DNA, all of this stuff now as well. But one of the big places I've noticed is within this kind of hip pelvis area. And this goes for men and women. It's not just women, because we both hold both of these, the magnetics of this system. So I've been having this lower back pain for quite a while now, probably over the last year or so. And I kept thinking, like, God, it's just because I haven't been working out, and maybe it's because of my scoliosis that it's just really acting up now with age and all these kinds of things. And it's been bothering me, and I've been kind of like trying to work with it and stretch and do all these things. But what I noticed last week sometime when I was sitting in the car, I was realizing that, you know what, because I'm using my right foot, there's so much of this like almost tension when I sit in my car where I kick back my left hip because it's not engaged with the vehicle. I sit in this very weird position, and I started to realize, oh my God, like this has been, I don't know how long it is that I've had this vehicle now. And I always realize every time I get a vehicle, I do a weird thing, right? I hold my foot in a certain position. After a while, I'm like, God, why is my foot hurting? I need to adjust this, right? So these kind of unconscious patterns that we have, that we are not even, subliminal messages to our field, right? So once I realized, okay, my left side is really not engaged. It's my right side because and also I realized like it's this kind of stance of strong arming, like what is going to come in? I have to be prepared for like a car swerving or something happening. It's this very reactive position within my field that I've been holding. And I would assume for much of who I'm speaking to as well, right? This kind of collective light worker that needs to really pay attention and start to engage with their own field in order to heal and release out. So there is this idea now, okay, the divine feminine really has been removed. She has been held out. She has been somehow, let's say, leashed to something else, right? All these kind of programs to the mind as well. And now we've been returned. We're able to engage this part of us, but it's awkward. It feels uncomfortable. We have to remind ourselves to do this, right? So all the things I was talking about, even my daily routine, it's the same thing, right? Doesn't feel comfortable, doesn't feel normal. It feels like almost like I'm having to kind of remember, even though it's at a different level now. It feels, the thing is, it feels good. It feels refreshing. It feels like a relief. So even within my own body with this hip situation, but yeah, my daily routine as well, right? It's like, oh my God, I worked out today for the first time in however long, and I totally wanted to puke, but you know what? I was like, yes, my body is releasing. Okay, this is perfect. This is good. Let's keep doing this. Let's keep building. Let's keep moving forward. So perhaps to even notice within your own self what might be shifting, because that's a lot of what I've noticed too, even through session work. It's like the body wants to suddenly like pivot and do this thing where something has been released, and it, boom, it turns back to where it was supposed to be. So this resistance that's been held in the field, it's not necessarily the resistance of us internally of you can't step into your own empowerment. There have been these things that have been holding us out from our own empowerment, but it's being returned now. We can pick up on that. We can start to feel that. So over this week, I've seen a lot of progress with people within their own fields of really recognizing these deep root patterns that they have held. And again, we just weren't able to see it before because of what was going on, but we can now. And it really is about taking responsibility for this in our daily lives as humans to release this out so that we can commune more and more deeply with our own light and our own space within our own stillness. So to me, it is about fully serving the self now rather than the system. So yes, we may still have to engage out there. We have to go out with the public or whatever we want to say about things that don't feel comfortable to us. But again, I caution even myself sometimes, like, it's not really them, right? It's the fact that I've been so disconnected from my own light that I don't feel like I can connect with other people. Because if we are connected to our light, we are connected to the understanding that it's all, right? That there is beauty in both the light and the dark. I am grateful to the dark for the way that it has pushed me to the level that it has pushed me to. So it's to be cautious of how we try to delineate between what is us and what is them. We are of the same. There's all different ranges, all different levels of energy, right? And we hold pieces of that everywhere. We've had, our own experiences have shown us that we're not really that much different from that. We came into these human bodies with all of the same restrictions and constrictions as everyone else. There was something that came up that I wanted to say about that too. Oh, just flew out of my mind. Well, that's unfortunate. It was important too. Okay, so yes, serving the self rather than the system. So I do feel there is this recovery period. I've been feeling this sense since this last lunar eclipse that we had, that we've, like, it's this period of like 4 to 6 months now. Again, I keep doing, right, where it's like, okay, re-engaging this other part of us, re-engaging this side of us into our lives, reacclimating, mainstreaming, right? These parts that have been held out, that we've said, well, you can't really function here because you are so ethereal, you are so empathic, you are so whatever. To me, that's just not true. That's a story we've really got to look at. I've been saying to the light workers, really have to look at the stories they've been telling themselves and perpetuating about how different, how separate we are. Because we're not here to build separateness. We're here to engage the light, which is to bring the light in, which is to infiltrate this, which is to root out all of that kind of separation. So, even having to, yes, reroute kind of these thoughts that we have about who am I in relationship to others, in relationship to what exists here. Always reminding myself again, like, I did in fact choose this, which has been an issue for me for quite a while. I think I have, like I said, because I felt abruptly awakened, I didn't really want this. This wasn't something that through my human I was asking for. But I've been shown over and over and over again, it's like I can't get away from it. There's no kind of, like, part of me thought, okay, I need to heal this crazy humanness of like whatever the heck happened in my life. Okay, now that I understand that, I can go and I can have a normal life now, right? I'm just going to get the regular job. I'm going to save money. I'm going to build up my nest egg for retirement, put my kids through college, and like this is it. Like, this is how I'm going to serve the world, right? Is to be the best human that I can be. But that's not it either. So there's this having to reacclimate myself, okay, to what this really is about, which is a huge step for me. It's a little bit uncomfortable. It's a little bit not where I would have thought, I would be. So this, like, I keep getting sidetracked a little bit here, but this 6-month period is really about the light workers healing themselves, this reconstitution of their own light in their field. So even if you have to take a step back, let's say from engaging so much with whatever it is you do as light work, right? But to really come in, and I've had this sense of really needing to go into the land to commune with myself. It's really like, I wanted to use this phrase, to get right with God, right? Not in that sense, but to get right with my own self, my own energies, what I am here, what I am connected to, what I am bringing in, who I'm here to really be. There's this sense of, I really get this kind of connecting now through these elemental fields all the way up to source, because part of this too, where this has been affected, is that the elemental fields have been controlled so much by this, let's say these hive energies, these queen mother, the dark mother tones. And so connecting in now is a very different range of energy, a very different kind of connection back to our wholeness, back to our sourceness, to this potency of who we truly are. So okay, I remembered what I was going to say. The one thing I couldn't recall. So there's been this fallacy, and again, I say these things because this is what I've experienced, what I've learned, right? So it's not like, oh, we've been told the wrong thing. No, this is how I have worked through it and how I have found it to be for myself. This fallacy that as light workers, the light is going to come in and heal us and make everything okay. But again, there is this part that has been, I think, has not been said, has been a bit neglected, in the sense of, yes, the light comes in, as I said, all the time, consistently. We always get the activations. But what has to happen, the purpose of the human now at this time, is to recognize where the light is coming in and it's hitting into the darkness or the programming or the resistance, right? So I was driving today and I got this beautiful image of what it really means to step into your empowerment. And I got this image of as if this storm was rolling through, right? These storm clouds, this darkness. It's like you can start to see the swirling of it. You can start to see in it, like there is this awful kind of foreboding energy that is coming. And it's like, as we are standing here as light being, we can see it. There's a part of us that there's a whole kind of movement that goes with this, right? We see it, it's like as if we are wearing these light garments, right? So these very beautiful white kind of shining, it's an internal light though that's coming out, right? It's emanating. You can't quite see where the light is emanating from, these beautiful kind of draperies and things. So it's like taking this and crouching down into this little ball right on the ground. It's like so small that the darkness can't really see you, and they think, oh, she's hiding in fear. They're hiding in fear. Here we come. We're going to do this. And yet it's like connecting into the earth. I even see this kind of like, I don't know, what is it? If it's like the Hulk or whatever, but taking the fist into the ground, right? And saying, as we kind of turn and reveal the full power of the light within us, that it just creates this kind of almost sonic boom, right? They had no idea this was coming. And this is what it has really felt to me. It's not that the light has come in and said, oh, here you are, you beautiful angel, now expand your wings and show the darkness what you can do. It's not like that at all. We have to truly reclaim our power. And sometimes that means going small into this ball where we are learning, where we are figuring it out. But yet once we figure it out, it's to say, okay, I understand these lessons now. And until I can really commune and come internal in such a strong way, it's like balling up into this energy and then exploding and expanding to say, oh, like, I got this. I get this now. I understand. And that is way more powerful to me. And I think that's a different expression too. Like this idea that the light is just going to come in through us and ward off all of this darkness, that is the new age fallacy of how the light works. It's not about that. It is about coming into our own power on our own and really understanding the lessons we have been through, the strength that we hold internally, and then opening this up to express and emanate that through this experience of the heart as a human. We do not just get this light downloaded into us and then we say, oh, we're better than everyone else. To me, that is what I keep hearing about enlightenment, is it is really a form of entitlement. I think that I'm just going to sit here and receive, and somehow I am going to evolve to be better and have more wisdom and knowledge than anyone else. It's not that. You are a laborer. You get down in the trenches. You figure out how the ditches get built, how the plumbing runs through so that the water runs appropriately, right? It's learning how this actually works and then taking that knowledge now, having worked through the human distortion of it, and bringing that out into the world in a way that you understand, in a way that you can convey to others. So, and again, I think that's the difference between this kind of false concept idea of we're just going to sit here, we're going to apply more and more and more light. Well, that you can apply light, but unless it gets into your cells, unless you see where you're releasing the programs, it's not fully embodied. And I think this, again, is the step that gets missed and misunderstood, is that the embodiment, it's not about the light coming into the body and suddenly we are awakened and aware. It's embodiment means walking through the process. And this is why, yes, we can read, we can listen, we can understand information from other people, but until we actually walk that experience in our own lives, we haven't embodied anything. Until we have physically released and we see the shift in our lives where things have changed, we haven't really learned anything. So that's what I wanted to add. I hope that was helpful. Once again, thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure to connect with you, and have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll talk again soon. Take good care.